Happy New Year. Galaxy, aliens, humans, animals, I don't care who you are. I appreciate you tuning into this show right here. This is the Real Resilience Talk Podcast, and this is episode 55. 5-5, y'all. 5-5. We're going places. We're doing things out here. And I have an amazing guest today. Before I get to the guest, I want to reiterate again, Monchichi Rex is amazing, right? He also has an album out called Pelocino, right? That's his stage name. Look him up. Thank you, Uncle Rex, for this track right here. But I also want to say, in this show, I am sponsored by nobody, baby. I'm going to try to do my key sweat right there, okay? I'm not sponsored by anything. I'm only inspired by fellow humans, fellow good humans, trying to figure this thing called life out. And I am inspired by the words of Dr. Maya Angelou, which is, if you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change your attitude or shut up. She didn't have to shut up. I added that in. But also, with that said, sponsored by the First Amendment, okay? So this show is no reflection of or endorsement from any official organizations, to include the DOD or anything affiliated. These are just going to be two car-carrying Americans having a real, candid conversation about things that matter, because we need to talk about it in a real, candid, raw way. And you might hear a bad word or two, but I hope that you'll hear a good word, 2 or 3, okay? So without further ado, my guest today is Amber. Everybody give it up for Amber. All right. Yeah. I got no claps. I got no audience right here, but we're going to do the studio clap right here. Hey, Amber, how you doing today?
I'm doing all right. Thanks for chatting with me. I appreciate it.
Oh, for sure. I sincerely appreciate you making time. And we connected on the comedy scene, which you are hilarious. And I see you using that as a healthy outlet to express ourselves. First Amendment, we got to express ourselves, y'all. If you don't express yourself, it's going to express itself inside you. So you might as well just let it out in a healthy way, like Amber's doing and so many others are, right? But I thank you for making the time to be on here and to be open to be on the show to talk about some real things.
No, you're welcome. And you're 100% right. I think I kept it in for a really long time, and suddenly it had to get out.
That's right.
And, it wasn't always the best way to do it. But yeah, I definitely, I love comedy. My goal is to turn all of my dark things into light.
That's it. I love it. So,
yeah.
We could do like, I subscribe to this, but Bobby Oliver, author of The Tower of Comedy, amazing person, gives the thoughts and prayers to her. She's out there in Cali dealing with those wildfires. But one thing she said in that book I just held up was, tell it over and over again until it no longer owns you. And that has given me some light to some dark places within me too. So that's beautiful.
Yeah, that's amazing. I really like that. I'm going to take that to heart.
Telling you, she's amazing. Bobby Oliver, y'all. I can't plug her stuff enough. She's amazing. Look up her book. Her book doing so good, it's like sold out. So hey, give it a second. You'll get yours. All right. If anybody else wants to get one, but it's helped me out so much, and she's helped me too. But I'm gonna shut up and stop being the narcissist I am and making it all about me and mine's. All right. I do want to start the show off with asking you with this word resilience, a lot of syllables, and I'll self-admit I did not know what the hell it meant for many of years. I love resilience. We talking about this resilience. What was resilience? So I'm gonna ask you, what is resilience to you?
That's a great question. And I'll tell you, I learned this. I didn't know what it meant either. I learned it from my oldest daughter. When she was 5, she was diagnosed with a very rare immune system disease. She was in the hospital for 60 days and took lots of steroids and went from 30 pounds to 60 pounds. And then they discharged her, and she couldn't really walk or run like the other kids. And a 5-year-old, that's your life. And I was trying to, she was very down, and I was trying to figure out what could we do to help her. And I tried taking her to the playground thinking, let's take her to other kids and help her. And it didn't work. Like, she just sat there really sad because she couldn't do those things. And so I started finding different things that would motivate her and help build her up. We got her a dog so that she would just move around with the dog. I tried to make her laugh and do funny things, especially when she was in the hospital getting procedures. If they're about to put my kid to sleep, I'm always trying to make them laugh right before.
Right.
Because I want them to fall asleep with that. So resilience to me is being able to get back up. And I watched her do that. As a parent, I had to help her a little bit, right? I bought her a dog. I probably spoiled her way too much, but I learned that I had to find ways to bring her joy and teach her that life was worth living. Because the problem she has is that it causes pain throughout her life. So since 5 years old, she's been in pain. Off and on through her whole life. And as a parent, that's heartbreaking and kind of scary because life is hard. And at one point, we did have to see a counselor because she told a doctor, well, she didn't want to, she wasn't happy with being alive. And she wasn't going to hurt anyone. But the doctor told me, or herself, the doctor told me, well, she just doesn't want to be in pain anymore. Yeah, it's absolutely heartbreaking. And so I made it my goal to find ways to show her that life was worth living. And as I did that, I realized that that was what resilience was all about. And that lesson really helped me. As if that wasn't enough, when my son was 6, he was diagnosed with brain cancer. And I mentioned before you started recording that the world ends for everyone in different ways at different times. And I'll tell you, being told that your son has a brain tumor and needs brain surgery 5 days from, that day, that my world ended. I remember driving home from Walter Reed in Washington, D.C., and there was all this traffic. And I just was like, how are you all still going through your day? And I had learned the lesson from my daughter, though, and I was really grateful. I believe in God. I was grateful to him for teaching it to me, although in a difficult way for her, that I had learned it. And I just spent the next, we didn't know if we'd see my son again. So the next 5 days, whatever he wanted to do, we tried to do, even though he was in the hospital, just bring as much joy as possible. And throughout his entire treatment, that was, the resilience lesson that I tried to instill in him and my kids was, hey, find joy. Like, life sucks a lot of the time, unfortunately. But there are good moments. And you can find joy even in the smallest things. And a lot of the joy that I found personally was through humor. I've rewatched Friends. I must have watched that like 20 times. I probably could quote a lot of the episodes. And like any funny show, old comedians, like I love George Burns and Gracie Allen back from like the 30s and 40s. Anything that would make me laugh, I would watch, because I knew that those endorphins that laughter gives me would help. And, working out, and it didn't take the pain away. Like I worked out a lot. I laughed. I tried to have fun. I tried to do amazing things with my kids. Anything I could find to bring them joy, we would do. And it didn't take the pain away, but it did allow me to bear it in a way that, it gives you strength. And to me, I guess that's a long answer to your very easy question, which is resilient. What is resilience? Just finding a way to get back up, even though everything is so dark and hard and you don't want to.
No, I love it. And that is a beautiful answer. All of it, every bit of it. And just as a fellow human, as a fellow parent, I send you as much virtual respect and salute as I can on this platform to tell you just thank you for being a good mom, and thank you for being an encourager of resilience within your own circle, because it's really easy to talk about these things, right? It's so easy. And God rest his soul, Dr. Martin Luther King weekend. That's what we're on right now. And his birthday was 2 days ago. And he's one time he said, the ultimate measure of someone is not where they stand at moments of comfort and convenience, but where you stand at times of challenge and controversy. And sister, you definitely showed your measure, and your children did too. So that's just a big salute to you. And I think it's a beautiful answer. And there's so much there. Man, you talking about, and this is so, I work on fortunately and unfortunately, and I see I get to learn of things with death by suicide firsthand. And what you said that your oldest daughter, a child at the time, said, which just hit me so hard, was that these people who take their own lives, 9 times out of 10 they don't want to hurt anybody else, right? Or else it would be a homicide, suicide type situation, but it's not. But you said it. She said it as a child to the counselor. I just want the pain to end. And that just hit so hard. And I just thank you for sharing that, because that is at the forefront of a majority, if not all, in some way, shape, or form, of why people choose to go that route, because they just don't see the pain ending in sight, or they may potentially not be doing the things that you and your children were doing to try to find ways to, you didn't say take the pain away. You said better endure it. And that's just, I'm speechless right now for lack of a better expression, and that doesn't happen to me often, but to go through that, to see your children suffering like that and to still keep moving forward. Well, you define resilience and your children do too. So big salute, sister.
I appreciate it. And I don't want people to think I've cornered the market on resilience. Cause when you're talking about, suicide and stuff, I'll tell you, I'm not suicidal, but I have been there. I was very concerned when my daughter said those things, but I'd never been there myself. So I didn't understand. Although not wanting to be in pain was heart wrenching for me as a parent. It wasn't until my marriage started to fail, and families with chronic children, it's very common for them, the marriage just doesn't survive. It's so hard to focus on your relationship when you're trying to keep someone alive.
Yeah, man.
And we were trying to keep two kids alive. Wow. And, I experienced that several times, in fact, where I've just told God, this is too much pain. I don't want to do this anymore. And then, you get up and you still do it. So I don't want people to think that, humor is going to cure your suicidal ideations. And I think the most important thing I want people to know is, like, if you're there, like when I was there, my first responder was my ex, and I told him, and he did not handle it very well. But don't be afraid to tell someone, like, right. Reach out. Since I've reached out to friends and been like, hey, I'm in a really dark place right now. Counseling. I make a joke about having two counselors, because I do, to deal with two different things, like one for trauma and one for another issue. But yeah, like, just trying to reach out for help, I think, was what I learned for myself with my marriage failing. I had helped my kids and found everything for them, but I hadn't learned how to help myself.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until that next lesson where I was like, wait, I can't do this alone anymore, and began to reach out.
I mean, you say corner the market on resilience. That's one thing. That's good. I like that. But no, to corner the market on being water, my friend, on continuing to endure, continuing to, got ancients saying, water is the most strongest thing because over time it could penetrate through rock, right? Because it's persistent. It doesn't stop. It doesn't have to always be so violent or, strong or ferocious. It can be, right? We've seen that, right? But like what Bruce Lee said about be water, my friend, that's exactly what you did in that situation. And a big credit to you, because I think sometimes people go to that one person, as you may have, and they're going through their own stuff and they're not able to or capable to, or they're just like, this too, I don't know what to do. And the person asking for that help from that person shuts down and says, well, nobody wants to help me, or no. And what you said right there was so beautiful, because, okay, this person may not be up to task right now. This person may not have answered my call. This person may not have been there for me or whatever. They got their own stuff. I'm going to be water, my friend, and keep flowing to a different direction to where I can get these needs met, where you found it in not only one form of counseling, but being humble enough to say, I'm going to take two forms because this helps. And also humor. And I love that you said, thank you for saying that. Yes, comedy and working out and counseling is not going to take anybody's pain away. It's not. But can it help us, to quote the great General Neller, who I quote on here all the time, can it help us to be able to endure it? Can it help us to be able to cope with it, to not be disabled by it, and to keep moving forward? That's exactly what you did. So yeah, I mean, you can corner whatever market you want. I think it's beautiful, because that is endurance. That's that water continuing to penetrate through the rock over the time, because I'm not just going to be stopped at this point and say, oh, well, this person wasn't here for me, or that person wasn't here for me. Or maybe you go to a counseling session and you have a bad counselor. Like, you can have a bad date and you just don't jive with them. Does that mean we throw the baby out with the bathwater and we don't, now counseling and talking to people is altogether bad, or all healthy outlets are bad, or I tried stand up, or I tried, drawing and that didn't help, so now all art is out the window? That's not true. Keep trying something else. And that's exactly what you did, man. Thank you.
I like that. You're essentially my third counselor now. But that, what you just said reminded me of, like, when you start learning stand-up comedy, they're like, hey, you're going to bomb sometime.
God, yes. And
I mean, yeah, I had a counselor that I didn't continue with at one point because it just wasn't working out. And, yeah, but when you're in that dark place, I guess the demons I'll call them demons because we're all fighting our own,
That's right.
are really loud, and they're like, hey, that one person didn't help. You're worthless.
Oh my God, yes.
But I think resilience too is being willing to say, you might be right, but you might be wrong. I'm going to try a different avenue.
I love it.
But that takes a lot of energy, I think.
Oh my God, yeah. And you're already so depleted, right?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I hurt for anyone who has felt suicide was the answer, because I understand 100% why they're there. And yeah, there's no energy. I will give God credit, because I think he is the one that is giving me energy, probably just for my 5 kids. But yeah.
And you've only mentioned 2 of them on here, so you got a whole lot of more endurance.
But yeah, I went all out. I got 5 of them.
Got a basketball team. Let's go. We're going to win the
finals. I know. Yeah, Team Lewis. That's what I call them.
There it is. I love
So,
it.
yeah.
No, that's good. Hey, hey, anybody out there listening, everybody, I've said it on here many times, but I have never said it to you personally. But like Aziz Ansari, one of my favorite comedians, right? He at one point has said in one of his specials, he said, "Man, the shit's really hit the fan," and the crowd's like, "Yeah, shit's really hit the fan." He was like, when you look at the fan of American history or world history, there's never been.
This is a reminder.
Oh, I'm so
you
sorry.
You are a child of God with limitless potential.
Yes.
Amazon.
You are a child of God with limitless potential.
I told you I pull out all the stops. I have Amazon playing
mantras.
The affirmation song from I think it's Snoop Dogg who sings it on Kids Bop or something.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I love that show. My kid watches that show all the time. It's time to clean up. No, that's the other one. But yes, I do know Doggy Woof Woof. What is it? Bow Wow. Yeah, my kid watches that too. No, but I love it. That's life. That's life, everybody. And I think that right there is a tool, because we're trying to talk about tangible tools. That right there could stop somebody from having a permanent situation on their hands, because you hear that affirmation, you hear that thing. These are, you shared comedy, you shared these other things, but that right there in itself, just that daily reminder or hourly reminder, or whatever it is, to keep you going, man. I think it's beautiful. I love it, and we didn't plan that. So how you like to?
I totally forget about it.
No, I think it's good, because you never know when you might need it, because you got to keep on moving forward, right? But there's never, to Aziz Ansari's point, right? There's never been a shitless fan. And there's never been a fan without some doo-doo on it, right? It's always been like this in human history, right? I mean, we can go back to whenever. Everybody's always felt like it's about to end. My point in bringing that up is, and I heard Dave Chappelle say this, that because people are like, how can you bring kids into this world, this crazy world, right? I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm going to say it publicly. If you're a good person, which you seem very well to be, I encourage people to, in a responsible manner, right, have children. Raise children.
Exactly.
We need more good people. The buttheads out here are overtaking everything, and we need to outnumber them. And the only way we can do it is by either, well, I'm going to just say we got to outnumber them. Let's just say it like that, right? And we got to outshine them. And I do think there's more good people in the world than bad. So I respect everyone on this. I really do, when they say, well, I don't want to have children. Hey, do you, boo-boo. Do you, right? But I don't think that this is the worst time in human history to ever have children. So what I say there, and what I'm trying to say is, thank you for being who you are, for you and your ex, for y'all making and putting good, strong children into this world, right? Because we need more strong people in this world. Now, some people's going to hear me and go, so I should just have like 8 kids and shit and not be able to cover my bill. Nobody's saying all that, okay? Do it.
I do not recommend that.
Don't do that. Kids are expensive. Oh my God, Pampers. They don't give you WIC for Pampers. I've learned it firsthand, okay? So make responsible decisions, but don't let the reason to not have is because this world is so crazy, I can't bring no children into this world. Hey, this too shall pass. We're going to get through this. All right. But you can make a good person to be a force of good in this world. So, all right. That's my, I get no endorsements for doing that, but you get what I'm saying though? Like there's
I 100% agree.
Always.
Oh yeah. Life has always been hard. You look back through history, and I mean, our grandparents were going through a world war.
Yeah, man.
Our great grandparents, everything is always going to suck. I 100% agree. The hardest things that have happened to me and the best things that have happened to me have been my children.
That's beautiful.
And I think that there is opposition in all things. I strongly believe that. And if I'm not willing to experience the hard, I'm never going to get to experience the joy either. Ooh. And, I want to experience the joy, even though it sometimes feels very fleeting.
My God, that's so spot on, dude. I mean, literally, I gotta plug it again. Look, the yin and yang. You see the yin and yang symbol, right? Like the tragedy and comedy. That's the dichotomy. That's life. And you even said earlier, sometimes the majority of life sucks, but it does crystallize or give contrast to those good moments, right? And look, I'm also saying too, because I was talking about kids, if you got some ish going on, like you got some stuff you need to work out, we always got some stuff to work out, you should probably work that stuff out, and then don't go what Bill Burr said was like download all of your daddy keeps money in the walls. You know what I mean? So don't nobody hear me wrong, but I'm saying don't let where the world is and you quote unquote say it sucks, let you not want to have that joy and that challenge of having children or growing a family. And that can come in many forms. You don't have to biologically have a child. You can just be a mentor. You can be a parent in other ways. You could adopt. There's a lot of kids that need some guiding, right? So if you're a good person out there, don't be afraid to produce more good people in some way, shape, or form in this world. But the yin and yang, you're so right. And in that book I just said, I swear Bobby Oliver's not giving me any money on this. She talks about, even with stand-up comedy, like you have that fear, you have that anticipation, you have that your palms are sweating, you're nervous as hell. And then you get on there and you do however you do. And after that, there's this high. Like I've done it all as far as synthetic highs are concerned, drugs, alcohol. I've tried it all. And there's no high for me like that high, right? But you only get it because of the tension and the buildup of before you go up and whatever that thing is, so like, Will Smith said it, not a perfect human, but God placed the best things in life on the other side of fear, right? So you got to have the courage to be able to try things, to be able to feel uncomfortable, to feel stupid, to feel, however, to get those good feelings. Because she even talks about in here too. She says, because she's a professional comic, and she said one time she got to a show and she usually gets in the green room and she gets her mind right. She goes over her notes. She does whatever. But this time they had messed up the scheduling. So when she showed up, they were like, it's your time. Go, 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 go. There was no buildup. There was no nothing. And she did good, but she didn't get the same high. She didn't feel this. She just got on. Like she didn't have time for the buildup, for the nervousness or anything like that. And that's something to be said for all of us. And I'm just making metaphors and analogies and comparisons to things that I understand, but you can fill in the blank on these things that the best things in life are on the other side of fear and anticipation and being a little nervous, and you gotta be willing to look stupid sometimes.
Oh yeah, no, I totally agree. I think too that if we're willing to talk about this hard stuff like you're doing, it connects us in a way that nothing else can connect us. And I learned that with my son going through cancer. I felt very alone at first. People would show up and be like, well, what do you need? I'm like, well, my son did not have a tumor in his head. Yeah, but they couldn't give that to me. Yeah. But then I found other parents, other pediatric cancer moms that I could talk to. And the connection that we had just knowing that our children were going through the same thing it was more of a connection than I've ever experienced with anyone else. It was just, we both knew what we were going through. We both knew how hard it was. And I've learned that, I am an officer in the Navy, and my sailors, when they're going through a hard time, I've made the most headway with connecting with them and helping them by actually being vulnerable with them and saying, hey, look, I get it. Your life really sucks right now. I was Red Crossed from a deployment because of a sick kid. Life is hard. Like, sometimes in the military, we don't want to talk about why it's hard. We're just like, hey, life is hard today.
Yeah.
But stopping my sailors and being like, hey, look, help me understand why life is hard so I can help you get the resources, or at least so that we can connect. And then you're not the only person going through the hard, which I think is very important.
Wow. Man, you just said so much right there. See, I'd have had to ramble for like 45 minutes to get a smidgen of that content you just put out, because anybody out there in leadership positions, okay, whether it's just because you have the parking spot that's labeled a certain thing, or you have the shiny thing or the flat black thing that's bigger than somebody else's or higher up the food chain, look, it is an honor. It is a privilege. And at times it can be a burden to be a leader of other humans, and whatever. It doesn't matter military or whatever, right? We're speaking from our experience, but you can apply this to anything. Be there for your people and be genuine and be real and be vulnerable. Like, so many people scoff at the word vulnerability. Like, dude, no, we're in a different time now. We've evolved, right? And you know, I've said this many times to people too. If social media, I think all this stuff is good for a lot of reasons, but people will be the first to point out the bad, and we can do that. We could be another critic in the world, right? But if it's good for anything, we are really good at seeing when somebody is being fake and when someone is being disingenuine, and you're just like, you reading off a teleprompter? Or is this some, you know, policy letter that you're just spitting out that you copy and pasted from some other person that gave you a template? Do you really mean these things? And people can feel that. And I love what you said there, because, okay, I'll try to get your resources. I'll try to do all that. But you know what? I want to make a connection with you. I want to understand as best I can with my human brain and being in the position of influence of you, what are you going through? Let me try to understand so we can connect and I can be there for you. And we obviously know, to all the naysayers out there that are listening right now, going, man, shut that Captain Care Bear stuff up, man. What you talking about? You just going to go out there and give it hugs all day? No, there's a time and a place. And if anybody understands that, it's military folk. We know how to compartmentalize real quick and how to suck it up for a second and then move forward. But we need to revisit after the engagement when we're in after action. Hey, come here, you. Hey, let's talk right quick. I want to genuinely try to be there for you and understand. And I also want to be humble enough to say, this is outside of my expertise. I can't give you what you need, but I can be there for you as a fellow brother or sister. But in the meantime, here are also these resources. And, you know, there's people in the military that'll argue we have too many resources. You know, I came over 20 some years ago. We didn't have half of these resources, right? But we still took care of people. We can still take care of people. We can still be there for our people, man, and try to be a light to them as best we can. So I thank you for saying that. But since we're on the topic, and I don't want to put you on Front Street, but this word vulnerable, people look at it like it's so soft, it's so mushy, it's so, you know, progressive, whatever we want to say, right? Okay. Vulnerable to me is me being able to say, hey, man, I hurt too. Hey, I've been through some stuff too, and life is hard. And it tested me in all of these ways, right? That's what vulnerability is to me. I'm willing to admit that and to not just be the rank or the position that I am and be so, I never feel pain. Get out of here. Come on now, dog. Come on now, for real. So I got to ask you, what's vulnerable to you, man?
Well, I'll tell you another story to express that, because I was just thinking about that, like as a parent too. Being vulnerable. You know, my ex left, and, you know, it's just me and my 5 kids, and, you know, he's completely done out of the picture. And my kids have really struggled with that. I mean, especially my oldest, like I told you, she was dealing with her issues with her health as well as this, and it was heartbreaking. And at one point, you know, after a couple years had gone by, you know, she came to me really upset. And she was just crying because, you know, she'd been dealing with the pain and she was having struggles in school. And I had just experienced my own unique heartbreak, because you know, my ex had gone, and I was kind of thinking, well, maybe I could, you know, try to develop a new relationship because I was really lonely. And I accidentally fell in love with someone. And those feelings were not returned. And it felt like an intense amount of rejection. Just, you know, one of those times when I was really in darkness. And when my daughter's there crying and telling me everything, I was like, hey, look, I don't know what it's like to be a 17-year-old who's in pain all the time, whose dad left. But I do know what it's like to be in pain, because this person who I really like, I was vulnerable, you know, I was being vulnerable with the person too, and said, I admitted I had feelings for them. And they said thanks, but no thanks. And it hit me really hard, and it really hurts. I know what it's like to be rejected by someone, because essentially a lot of her pain was coming from feeling rejected from her own father. And since I did that for her, our relationship has grown in a way that is, I mean, she's 18 now, so it's transformed from more mother to, you know, I'm your friend now too. But I had to be open and vulnerable. And I started crying too, because I had never felt rejection that intense before. Just completely heartbroken. And, you know, my daughter's crying and we're crying together. But yeah, to me, that's what being vulnerable is. It's being willing to say, I'm not okay right now. And you know what? That's okay. And I'm probably going to cry in front of you. I've cried in front at work occasionally. But I just say, look, I'm feeling very emotional right now. I'm sorry. The tears are coming. If it makes you uncomfortable, you're going to have to just deal with it because this is me.
Yeah.
But
all
yeah,
of me,
that's,
warts and all,
yeah,
tears and all.
exactly. We have to be willing to cry in front of each other. Like, that doesn't show weakness. That actually being willing to feel those feelings allows you to heal. So to me, it's actually a strength. If you're willing to stop and say, I'm hurting right now, and I'm going to feel this hurt until, I can get back up and keep walking. You don't feel the hurt forever, but you stop and you allow yourself to feel the pain. And then you're like, okay, I'm going to take a deep breath. I'm going to get a drink of water, or I love, my caffeinated sodas.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to keep going.
Yeah.
I think you have to be strong to do that, because hurting sucks and we don't want to.
No. And I think one of the best things that I heard, the one word that jumped out at me, and yeah, I'm biased. It's okay. I'm a firm believer in, like, we need our people. We need a tribe, humans. I don't care if you're the most introverted in the whole world. We need each other, right? It's a tale as old as time. Like, humans need humans, and nothing on this earth gets accomplished with one individual by themselves. And a good friend of mine, she recently gave me a book. I read all of it, but I read the first few pages of it, and it's called Alone Sucks. Alone Sucks. That's the name of the book. Alone Sucks. And a lot of it was surrounded around the part that I've read so far about the tragedy in Columbine High School, and people feeling alone, and how that can lead to bad things with people. But the key word you said in what you just shared, and thank you for sharing it, was the word together. Together. Like, pain shared is pain divided. And when we come together, you just don't know what's to come when you're willing to be vulnerable and reach out to people. And there's a time and a place out there, naysayers and scoffing at me, because I know not everybody listens to this show to gain something positive. Some people are just looking for a way to cancel me, and that's cool. I respect that. Play on, player. I love it, but I hope you're getting something good out of it while you're in the meantime. Not all your friends on social media are your friends, right? Some people just hunting for you. So try to find some evidence, but it's cool. I respect that. I love it. And I hope it's helping you in some way to each and all, right? But to the scoffers, to the naysayers, like, you just can't deny, man. You can't deny that together we are better as a people. And a hard thing is finding your people. That's a hard thing. And sometimes you get rejected, and you give yourself to people that may not want you, deserve you, or they may not even rate you, player. They might not even rate you. They don't deserve you, right? That doesn't mean the hunt for your tribe stops, right? It reminds me of Dr. Maya Angelou. I love her. I miss her. I wish she was alive right now. I just want to get a minute take on things from her, because she's such a strong person in history, and just, man, I love her. But, she had said to her son, he was having a hard time finding friends. And she said, well, be a friend. Be a friend and you will find a friend, right? Because it just so happened that circumstance placed you with those other parents that were suffering pain in the pediatric department, right? Or sometimes we see it with the military. We get stationed with somebody, we happen to bond by consequence of circumstance, but we get to know each other. But don't stop trying to find your people. Don't stop. Like, I mean, one thing that we're both connected in, and we didn't even go through it together, but the Armed Services Arts Partnership, the ASAP, find your people. Like, there's other people out there similar to you, and alone sucks, and together we're better. So try to find your tribe, whatever that may be. And you might have multiple tribes. Dude, I have multiple tribes. You just can't have enough good people in your life. Not everybody's for you, and that's okay. Not everybody wants you. And let's be real, you don't want everybody else either, right? And that's just how life goes. But we got to be willing to, what you said, be vulnerable, share, and connect as best we can. And if one person doesn't answer, or if that person you thought should have been there isn't there, try again. Please keep trying. Call 988. Right? Like, there's options out there for everybody. Just please don't let today be your last day because you feel so alone, because alone sucks. Find somebody else to be together with. Somebody out there wants to hear your story versus hearing your eulogy later on. Okay, my rant's done. Sorry.
No, I mean, absolutely. I 100% agree. I was going to say, keep telling your story until you find them. And I mean, ASAP, yeah, I love them. I didn't know if comedy was for me, but I was alone essentially, and aware that I was depressed, and I was like, I need something different. And I've always loved comedy. And I was like, and I Googled it, and I'm going to give God credit for me finding it, because ASAP was the first thing that popped up when I
all
said,
up in the algorithm, y'all, what's up?
I know. It was like Virginia Beach comedy schools near me, and ASAP pops up. And I was just like, hey, I tried it, and I am addicted to it now.
Yeah.
But you do, I think you also have to maybe change the way you talk to yourself. I've also changed the way I talk to others. I tell people, you know, hey, I've got your back. My sailors know that I'm not always, you know, I have had XOI and things like that, and been like, nah, you did something dumb, you're in trouble.
For sure.
You're going to fix
That's
it.
accountability.
But I'm always like, I've got your back, even though you're accountable. And I have told people, like, to their face, as even a commanding officer, like, I'm not safe with you. I don't feel safe right now. I definitely have a solid case of PTSD. You know, when I was in the office, like, shaking, and they're like, you know, yelling, what's wrong? I don't understand why you're stressed. And I was like, I just don't feel safe with you. I have to go. I have to remove myself from this situation. And I'm saying it more for me than for the other person, because that officer was very offended that I didn't feel safe. But I was like, hey, I'm being honest with you right now. And I try to tell my kids that too, you know, understand how you feel when you're with that other person. Do you feel safe to be yourself? Do you feel like they have your back, even if they don't say it?
Oh, we say it all the time. We say, oh my God, we got posters and stuff. We got your back. But really though, when it comes down to it, do we really got your back?
Exactly. Do you mean it? And I only say it when I mean it. I mean, I always, you know, I am in love with the Navy too, and I have my sailors back, no matter who's working for me. But also, I am going to hold them accountable, and I'm going to say, hey, your commitment right now is very lacking, or, you know, what's going on? We need to fix this situation, because that's also part of having their back.
It
I
really
mean, it's the same for a parent.
I'm so happy you said that, because the accountability pendulum, it swings both ways. Like, there is the accountability of, hey, you suck. You did this wrong. You need to do better. And 9 times out of 10, folks, the person that's going to stop you and tell you that is a lot of times the person that cares about you the most, because they don't want to see you continue to fail. They don't want to see you continue to make bad habits and things like that. So don't take so much offense to somebody calling you out in a tactful manner and saying, hey, whoa, that's not you. You're better than that. Because the people that really don't care about you, they just walk by and go, look at that turd, look at that doo-doo, look at that, they suck. All right. And they keep going, right? And they keep worrying about their own fitness report and their own evaluations and their own awards and their own pay raises and promotions. But to stop to take the time, there's that part of it, right? But then there's also the side of accountability that says, hey, good job. Hey, you did good here. Not just like, hey, everybody, I just want to thank everybody for everything you do. You don't even know what I do, ma'am. You don't even know what I do, sir. Right? But specifically, hey, Smith, on that one thing, great job, because you took the initiative in this way, or you handled that circumstance, whatever. So the accountability thing and discipline gets a bad rap. There's a context there. There's a beauty to it, and it can be in a good way too, for the good things. So don't just be, you know, have a negative bias towards only pointing out the bad. You got to find the good too, because that's how good behavior gets reinforced. Whether, like you said, it's with our people we lead in our workplace, our Marines, our sailors, our soldiers, our airmen, our guardians, our coasties, whatever, or it's working at Taco Bell and you're a supervisor and you're telling the person on the line, hey, that order, the way you get that was awesome, right? You're acknowledging their good and their bad, because you're making them grow. But it's the same with our children too. We can't reward bad behavior, because they're going to do it again. And why are people difficult, to quote Connie Podesta? Because they're allowed to be. That's what she said. She said, why are people difficult? Because they're allowed to be. Connie Podesta, I'm telling y'all, look her up. She's amazing. But yeah, I know that was another rant from Cam, but accountability matters.
100%. Yeah. I mean, I think that it's important to give that feedback too. And I mean, parents, if you're not sure how to do the good versus bad accountability, and you're in the military listening to this, like, find a parent at your command who's got a couple kids, and their kids seem like they're got it together, and they will tell you. Because I mean, kids, they did this poll where kids were asked, you know, how do you know your parents love you? And a lot of the kids said, because I have boundaries, because there are rules set for it. And the kids whose parents just want to be their buddy and don't set the rules or the boundaries, they don't feel love. They're just roommates with their parents.
Oh man, that's like I call it the making a monster. Like you can make a monster so quick. And look, rest his soul. I have his picture on my wall. The great Colonel DeWolf. I love you. I miss you. I know he hears me somewhere. He used to say, you got to hold people accountable because little assholes become big assholes. That's just the way life is. Like, and sorry for my language there, but it's the God's honest truth. So we got to nip it in the bud and we got to show them a better way. But that takes time, that takes effort, that takes attention, and that takes good old caring. You got to care about your people to be able to do that. In the same way, if they're going through a trauma, if they're going through a struggle, that you're saying, I'm willing to be there for you. It's the same. That doesn't mean be a drill instructor all the time. No, there's a time and a place for everything. That's where you got to have experience in life and judgment. But if you are struggling and you don't know, ask somebody else. You'll feel connected to that person because everybody wants to. If you ask somebody for some help, they love to tell you what they think about how they could guide you. People love to talk about their perspective. Look at me. I started a whole show about it. You know what I'm saying? They love it. So you're kind of like, hey, how did you do this? How do you encounter this? And then it's just a day by day, play by play, kind of thing. Easier said than done. It's a comfortable and convenient circumstance right now. I'm talking to a good human. I'm in an air conditioned space, right? Nobody's shooting at me. There's no stress. I wasn't on watch last night, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But we got to be willing to train ourselves in these moments of comfort and convenience. So we're ready for those times of challenge and controversy, to quote the great Dr. King.
Exactly. That brilliant. Like I couldn't have said that better. The individual who I wasn't safe with, like a stressful situation would come up. Our building heat broke and it was 90 degrees inside and we're all sweating and, going around yelling at people. And I think that it's important to understand that you need some emotional intelligence as well as actual intelligence. You need to understand, hey, I'm, in those moments when it's 90 degrees and things are stressful, take a step back and be like, okay, I'm feeling very stressed right now. And I try to practice this with my kids and at work. Like, hey, I can't talk to you right now. I'm really angry. We need to circle back in about 30 minutes and we need to figure this out. Or when I'm not feeling those strong emotions, rather than like going out and attacking people just because that's, like I said, the heat's broken. Everybody's wrong today.
Yeah. No, I've been guilty of that before, to not take that step back, to not say, hey, let me take a knee right quick. Because not most things, most times in life, there are those times we know it. There's those times where we get PTSD out of it for certain situations. And there's those stressful situations where it's like, act now, do this now. But not all situations are like that, people, right? And I think sometimes we overthink and we can make things worse than what they are. And I think about like Jocko Willink, Mustang Nation. That's what I do for him. But he talks about calmness. It's contagious. Being calm is contagious. And there's a time to kind of sit back, zoom out and say, okay, what's going on here? And actually, you know what? Have the courage to say, look, y'all, I'm not my best self right now. I need to step away. I can't do this right now. And because, you don't want to say something you regret, do something you regret, or make this already 90 degrees heat situation that much worse because you want to throw a fit and because of your position, you can. Like, you're not going to let a seaman or a lance corporal do that, right? They can't lose their mind right now. So why should you, sir or ma'am? Because you can? That doesn't mean you should.
Oh, I 100% agree. And look, I love that you said that courage. It's courageous to do that. Like, it really does. Like, I think we as a culture look at bravery and courage wrong. I tell my kids all the time, like, bravery and courage is doing something that is hard in the moment and it doesn't feel natural. My middle child suffers from anxiety and she's always talking about it. And, I got her to join Sea Cadets.
Oh, I love Sea Cadets. I used to work with Sea Cadets when I was in Cali.
I know. I was like, hey, I feel like this would help you. And she was really, really anxious and she wanted to quit after the first meeting. And I said, no, we're not going to give in to that anxiety. We're actually going to have this be a way you strengthen yourself and build it up, because courage is doing what you're afraid of. Even if someone else, there's probably 50 kids that go to her unit that aren't afraid. And I was like, not one of them are courageous. You're courageous because you're anxious and you're afraid and you're still going. And the leader who's willing to take a step back and say, hey, I got to take a knee for a minute is to me the right leader. And I feel like we don't have enough in the military.
Yeah. And it's, if you don't like something, you change it. if you can't change it, change your attitude. So if anybody's listening out there, and I've been guilty on the wrong side of these subjects, all of these subjects we talked about today. We were talking before we got on here, and I was saying that, even up to the ranks of E6, E7, I was not open-minded on a lot of these things. My first 10 or 12 years in service, and I've grown since then, and it's been 20 some years. So you can change, dog. Like, if you're out there listening and you're like, I ain't never been like that, I ain't never gonna be like that, well, come on, man, you got to evolve. Like, either not, if we fail to evolve, we'll become extinct, like floppy disks and dinosaurs. And floppy disks are only saved by the save icon on computers, so that's it. But you got to be willing to evolve and to be open. And I think we're going full circle, because I really think way back in the day, I think humans were more vulnerable because they were in the same tribe and they were connected. And you saw them at their highest moments and their lowest moments because they all lived together. Like, sometimes they didn't have bedrooms back then and their little mud houses or huts and stuff. Like, you saw the good, the bad, the ugly of a human all the time. So I think they just by default had that things. But now we have to be willing to have the courage to be uncomfortable, to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And that doesn't mean you need to blast all your business out there or anything like that, but be willing to say, I'm dealing with something right now. I'm not okay, and because it's just going to fester. And if you don't deal with your mess, people, God, I'll say this again, because I'm guilty of it. If you don't deal with your mess and try to evolve, your mess will deal with you. It will eat you from the inside, and then you will bleed on others by default. I've talked about it so many times on here, and I've said it in like posts and stuff like that. But like Will Smith, I admire Will Smith. I do. I'm sure he's not a perfect person. The fact that he's not perfect makes me like him more, because that gives me hope, because I'm not perfect, right? But like Chris Rock, I love Chris Rock. I'm an 80s baby. I love both of those dudes. I've admired them my whole lives, like just watching Chris Rock do stand up and being inspired by him and the things Will Smith. But look, we all know what happened. Will Smith, a hurt person, smacked Chris Rock, and he didn't deserve that, man. How many of us are smacking people metaphorically in our lives day to day that don't deserve those hits, that don't deserve that, because we're not willing to maybe work out our stuff? Or if you've read on Will Smith, he has done a lot of self-work, but we can also get complacent, and we can also get overwhelmed again, and we can let the moments get the best of us. Because I've asked rooms full of people who thinks Will Smith was smacking Chris Rock that night. And everybody's like, he wasn't smacking Chris Rock that night. But who'd he smack? Who felt the pain that night? Chris Rock did. He didn't deserve that. So I'm just glad my moments of smacking people are not on national television. Not to say I just go around slapping people, but metaphorically, right? Because we either get complacent in our recovery or in our dealing with things and coping with things and learning new skills, or we just totally relapse to a worse version of ourselves and we hurt others. So if not for you, if you're out there listening, if not for you to live a better life and how about for those that are around you, like, can you be a better you for them? Because I'm sure, and going through all these things, that's, man, I don't wish what you've went through on anybody. And that's not pity talking. That's just empathy. And that's just hard to see your children hurting the way they do, but to still do it, right? But if you didn't, seek outlets, healthy outlets, whether it be counseling or art or talking to people, or those times where you were willing to be vulnerable and courageous and say, not right now, man, how many of those moment-to-moment interactions wouldn't have went as good as they did, or would have been worse because you didn't deal with your own mess? You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, I recently, if anybody's ashamed to ask for help, I'll share one last experience of asking for help. I had my PTSD triggered by a superior, and I was like, I don't feel safe here, and I called medical, and I was like, okay, I'm experiencing these physical symptoms. My heart racing, I'm not safe. I need something else. Like, this is definitely the PTSD. Please help me figure this out. And you have to be willing to go in there and do that. And my doctor was like, wow, most people aren't willing to come in. And she said she even had a patient that was like, don't put PTSD on my record. I don't want that there. But it was going to affect me. I knew in that moment, I was like, I'm reacting emotionally, and I can't react any other way because the emotional part is so strong. So I need to back up, and I need medical help. I need someone that's going to help me figure this out. And I think that that's really important to be willing to do, to recognize those emotional feelings, the fight or flight or anything you're feeling, and just say, whoa, this is the emotional side of me. This isn't really who I am, but that is the part of me that is in control right now is screaming help. And I need to figure out what help it needs. And I mean, nobody's perfect. I've had the moments where the emotional part of me gets the better of me, and kids have been grounded longer than they should have been. But you just keep trying.
Keep trying. You got to keep being willing to weather it. And I mean, I said this before too, like you never know who or what is coming down the road of life that you could be a light to, that you can share your experience with, or they can share it with you and things can be made better, right? Like, it sounds corny, but take a mess, make it a message, try to help others, try to be a light. There's nothing I have found to be more freeing of things, stand up and I write and I do different things, but like being able to help others or being able to be a light to them, is one of the best medications I've ever had. And laughter is a cheap medicine too. So do it often. That's what Lord Byron said. He ain't got canceled yet in history, so I'll keep quoting him until he does. But, it's cheap medicine. So, helping other people, trying to be a light. And I've said it on here too, to be a light, Dr. Viktor Frankl, what is to give light must endure burning. For those of you out there who are going through a hard time, I'd suggest read, not to compare, but to have empathy towards that man's situation and maybe learn some tangible tools to how he got out of that or how he survived that and continued to live. Because, wow, A Man's Search for Meaning, that changed my whole world when I read What is to Give Light Must Endure Burning. Wow, just think about that for a second, everybody. What is to give light must endure burning. And I'll shut up on that one. But I did want to ask you if I we've talked a lot of resources, we talked about a lot of things, but are there any tangible tools that have helped you that people could go to right now to maybe they're in a moment and they want a tangible tool to be able to help them out? I know we said ASAP. I know we said obviously counseling, seeking out for help, being able to be courageous, talk about things, connect with people, be vulnerable. But is there anything tangible? Affirmations too from Amazon.
Yeah. I definitely have an Amazon problem. I don't recommend that either. I would say, if you're in the military, I have called Military One Source and said, they can do almost immediate counseling. We have Fleet and Family in the Navy. And I have called them and just been like, hey, I got to talk to someone right now. I don't know. And if you don't have friends, I mean, at one point I was an angry cancer mom. I was very emotional that whole time during my son's treatment and very probably not a pleasant person to be around most of the time, which made it hard to help me when I needed help the most. But I did, like you said, I talked to people. I was like, this is what's going on with my life right now. And, religious leaders, I'll give them a plug too, or counselors. You don't even have to be religious to do it. Meditation has really helped me a lot. I've admitted I believe in God, so I pray a lot, and I just envision myself giving that to someone else, all that difficult time. But I think the most important thing is just to talk to someone, even if it's just like this random stranger. I have done that before. I have had someone standing next to me. My son did radiation treatment in Philadelphia, and I'll just be like, I'm here because my son has brain cancer and this really sucks right now. And I mean, that stranger probably wasn't expecting that at that moment in time. But it felt, and I don't know how they took it, but it felt good for me to just say it out loud.
Yeah.
And then, I'll give one more story. Like the entire treatment, my son, I was very angry. And I was angry at God because I was like, why, if you're such a powerful being, would you allow this to happen to my son? Yeah. Not that I would wish it on any other kid,
right.
But that was just the attitude I went through. And I held that anger for an entire year because I hadn't learned yet to talk about it. And after a year, I went and I told someone, I'm really angry at God. Like, I can't talk to him. I'm on the verge of hating him. And the immediate response from that person was, that's totally okay. And I think that if you can find someone that will just, anyone, like you said, call 988, like just someone who can validate how you're feeling, because your feelings are normal and you shouldn't beat yourself up over them and you shouldn't keep them inside. You should figure out a way you can release them in a healthy way and allow someone to look at you in the eyes or, talk to you on the phone and say, that feeling makes sense. You're going through a very difficult time.
Mm-hmm.
And that helps a lot.
No, I love that. I really do appreciate you sharing that. And I do like the plug for chaplains and those in the religious sector. Like, don't just write them off as like, I'm not the same faith as them, or they're churchy, I'm not churchy. Like, they're also sometimes accredited counselors, and if nothing else, they know of other resources, and they're pretty cool people 9 times out of 10. Every now and then you get somebody like, I don't vibe with them. Then go find another one. There's another one on a ship or another unit or whatever. Like, but chaplains can be a good big service to you, and you could tell them anything and they can't tell nobody, right? So
yeah, it's very confidential.
So don't ever rule that out if you have that access to such a resource of chaplains, because they really are some good humans doing. I mean, I don't even know who the chaplain is or who they go to counseling, but I know they hear some stuff, and I'm not jealous of their job or their service, but it matters. And don't write them off as just being churchy or religious folk, because they're actually good humans that have a certain capability of being 100% confidential. So you just don't know. I say throw it all at the wall and see what sticks. Be willing to try and try and try again. And maybe you're just going on this path because you're figuring out what works and what doesn't work. So maybe you can come on a show like this one day and share it, so somebody else goes, hey, I tried that too. And you never know how it might help them, right? So don't be afraid to share. And back to Bobby Oliver, what I said earlier, tell it over and over again until it no longer owns you. Tell it over and over again until it no longer owns you. That's what she said, and I found it to be true in my situation, in my circumstance. I always close, sister, with one question to everyone on here, and I want to say thank you for being so vulnerable and just open, and just those are real hard things you shared today. So thank you for being willing to share with others. But I always ask everyone, if someone's out there right now, and man, we haven't started off 2025 right, because we've already lost so many people to death by suicide. I know it. If there is someone out there contemplating it right now, and they're looking at that as their solution, or as the decision they want to make to take their own life, or to hurt others, or to make some type of permanent solution in their mind over, obviously, their circumstances, what would you say to that person?
I would say, let's sit down and talk first. First of all, it's okay to not be okay. And I want you to not just hear that, but believe it. And, let's just sit. Even if you don't want to talk about it, I will just sit with you. And I hope that if someone hears this, who is in a position where someone comes to them and says, I'm going to hurt myself or others, that they react that way, because you can't fix that. Even the person that's feeling it cannot fix that in that moment.
Thank you.
But they need someone to be there and just sit with them in the suck and let them cry, let them say crazy things, let them pace back and forth, whatever they need, and make sure they know you're there. And if you're the person that's in that situation, be me in Philadelphia and go talk to a random stranger and say, I'm feeling this way right now. And I doubt there is anyone who would not stop what they were doing and be like, whoa, let me help you. And if they don't, then find the next person on the street.
Yes.
Or call 988 and be willing to admit that's what you're feeling, because it's okay to not be okay.
That's so beautiful. I can't even add nothing to that, man. I can't. I'll tell all my leaders out there, man, hey, anybody, and we're all leaders if we're having influence over a situation or circumstance or people or whatever, like, doesn't matter your rank or your title or your parking spot. Look, man, be firm, be fair, be there, and please care. People need it right now. And as Amber said, it's okay not to be okay. But like my man Jose says, don't stay that way. Don't stay that way. Amber, I really, man, this is one of the best episodes I've ever done, one of the best conversations I've ever had with another good human. So I want to tell you
thank you. I love it. I've really enjoyed it too. If you ever need someone to come back and talk more about the bad part of life, let me know. Yeah, I know. I might as well. Like I said, I'm going to make my dark things light no matter how hard it is.
I love it. And what is to give light must endure burning. And you are welcome back anytime. If you're like me, I get off of here and I go, you know what I should have said? If you have that feeling, let's do it again. Let's do it multiple times.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Reoccurring conversation, because people need to hear what you are sharing and hear your heart speak. And I thank you, man. I've learned a lot today. And just thank you so much. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your sacrifice. Thank you for being a good mom and for putting good humans in this world. And hey, if I can ever be there for you or yours, please do not hesitate to reach out. I appreciate you. I love you. I thank you. Seriously. Do you want to say anything in closing?
Well, I just want to thank you for doing this and letting me tell my story. I think what you're doing is awesome. And I hope it reaches someone and it helps someone. And if it doesn't, if no one listens to this the things you have said have validated some of my feelings and really been a light for me today.
Man, I appreciate that. That's always the goal. We all want the Million Man March, but if we could just reach one, that's all that matters, because everybody matters. You matter, even if you don't feel like it out there in the world. Thank you, Amber. Thank you, all the listeners. Again, my Chichi Rex is my man with the tunes, and I want to reiterate, this has been no reflection or endorsement from any official organization, so don't try to cancel me. But we are inspired by and sponsored by, if anything, the First Amendment, in the words of Dr. Maya Angelou. If you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change your attitude. Or shut up, okay? All right, or shut up. No, but seriously, thank you all, for real. Sponsored by Nobody, baby. This has been Real Resilience Talk. First episode of 2025. Thank you again, Amber. Much love to all of y'all. As she said, it's okay not to be okay, but please don't stay that way. Much love.